It was going to cause more harm than good.
The feud within the royal family has reached a boiling point. Prince Harry and Prince William are no longer holding back as they reportedly make their ultimate move against Queen Camilla. Accused of betrayal, manipulation, and leaking royal secrets to the press, Camilla's actions have left the nation stunned. The rift between the brothers and their stepmother has only grown deeper, and what the princes did next is sending shockwaves across the monarchy. Is this the beginning of the end for Queen Camilla?
What made her dangerous because of the connections that she was forging within the British press.
Prince Harry accuses. Queen Camilla of manipulating the media. Prince Harry has never shied away from speaking his mind, and his latest accusations against Queen Camilla have sent shockwaves through the royal family and the public. In a series of interviews and his explosive memoir Spare, Harry described Camilla as dangerous, accusing her of manipulating the media to repair her public reputation. According to Harry, Camilla traded private information about the royal family with the British press in exchange for favorable coverage, a move he claims came at the expense of others, including himself and Prince William. Harry alleges that Camilla's efforts to rehabilitate her image began after she was widely viewed as the villain in the love triangle between her, King Charles, and Princess Diana. Following Diana's death, Camilla worked tirelessly to gain public approval, eventually becoming queen consort. However, Harry claims this transformation was achieved through a calculated campaign of leaks to the media, portraying her in a positive light while damaging the reputation of others in the royal household. One of Harry's most shocking claims is that Camilla's PR team leaked stories about his own struggles, including his use of drugs, to distract the press and shift attention away from her controversial past. He described this as a barter deal with the media, where Camilla provided inside information in exchange for glowing headlines. Harry even suggested that Camilla's actions left bodies in the street, referring to the damage done to family members' reputations. The tension between Harry, William, and Camilla dates back decades. Both brothers opposed their father's marriage to Camilla in 2005, believing it was inappropriate for the woman they blamed for the breakdown of their parents' marriage to become their stepmother. While they publicly wished their father well, behind the scenes, resentment lingered. Harry's accusations have reignited that animosity, making it clear that the wounds of the past have not healed. Despite these claims, Camilla has remained silent, with supporters pointing out her years of dedication to charitable work and the late Queen Elizabeth's endorsement of her as queen consort. However, Harry's accusations have painted a darker picture of her rise to power, leaving the nation divided. Is Camilla the manipulative figure Harry describes, or a misunderstood woman navigating a complex royal life? Harry and William opposed their father, marrying Camilla. The royal family has always been surrounded by drama, but few moments have been as controversial as King Charles's marriage to Camilla in 2005. While the public was divided over the union, Prince Harry and Prince William were firmly against it. The two brothers, still grieving the loss of their mother, Princess Diana, saw Camilla as the woman who had played a key role in the breakdown of their parents' marriage. Their opposition to the marriage was both personal and emotional. For years, Charles and Camilla had been romantically involved, even during Charles's marriage to Diana. Diana famously revealed the affair in her explosive 1995 interview, stating, "There were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded." This betrayal left a lasting impact on her sons, who harbored deep resentment toward Camilla as the other woman. When Charles announced his plans to marry Camilla, Harry and William reportedly begged their father not to go through with it. In his memoir Spare, Harry opened up about this difficult time. He described how he and William pleaded with their father to reconsider, arguing that the marriage would only bring more pain and controversy. However, Charles was determined to marry the woman he loved. Feeling defeated, the brothers eventually gave him their blessing, shook his hand, and assured him there were no hard feelings. But behind the scenes, the resentment lingered. Harry and William's disapproval stemmed not just from Camilla's role in their parents' failed marriage, but also from their fears about what her presence in the royal family would mean. Harry, in particular, admitted that the worried Camilla might become a wicked stepmother, like in the fairy tales he read as a child. He also accused her of being manipulative and using her relationship with the press to improve her public image, often at the expense of others in the royal family. Even after the marriage, the relationship between Camilla and the brothers remained frosty. Their interactions were polite but distant, with no warmth or genuine connection. The scars from the past were too deep to heal. To this day, Harry and William's opposition to their father's marriage to Camilla remains one of the most talked about chapters in royal history. Camilla's alleged role in leaking stories about the royal family The royal family has always been surrounded by whispers, but Prince Harry's claims about Queen Camilla have ignited a firestorm of controversy. According to Harry, Camilla allegedly leaked private information about royal family members to the media as part of a calculated plan to rebuild her public image. In his memoir, Spare, and various interviews, Harry paints a picture of a woman who was willing to sacrifice others, including her stepsons Harry and William, to secure her place in the royal hierarchy. Harry alleges that Camilla entered into a barter agreement with the British press, exchanging sensitive royal details for positive coverage of herself. This, he claims, was part of a long-term strategy to repair her reputation after being labeled the villain in King Charles and Princess Diana's marriage. Harry described her as dangerous in an interview, suggesting that her close ties with the media made her a threat to anyone who stood in her way. Perhaps the most shocking of Harry's accusations is that Camilla's PR team leaked damaging stories about him and William to shift negative attention away from herself. Harry believes that details about his experimentation with drugs and other personal struggles were deliberately fed to the press to clean up Camilla's image. In his words, there were bodies left in the street as a result of her attempts to secure favorable headlines. The tension between Harry, William, and Camilla has long been a topic of speculation, but Harry's revelations have given the public an unprecedented look behind palace walls. Both brothers reportedly opposed their father's marriage to Camilla in 2005, fearing her influence in the royal family. While they eventually appeared to accept her publicly, Harry's accusations suggest that resentment has simmered beneath the surface for years. Camilla, for her part, has remained silent on the allegations, but royal insiders have defended her, pointing to her years of charitable work and her close relationship with King Charles. Even the late Queen Elizabeth publicly endorsed her as Queen Consort, praising her dedication to the monarchy. Despite this, Harry's claims have left the public divided. Is Camilla a cunning figure who manipulated the press at the expense of others? Or is she a misunderstood woman navigating the complexities of royal life? One thing is clear, the drama within the royal family is far from over. Strained relationship between Camilla and her stepson princes. The relationship between Queen Camilla and her stepsons, Prince William and Prince Harry, has long been a source of tension within the royal family. Despite public appearances of unity, insiders reveal that the bond between them has always been strained, rooted in the bitter history of their parents' marriage and Camilla's role in their father's life. For William and Harry, Camilla was not just their father's new wife. She was the woman widely seen as the third person in King Charles and Princess Diana's marriage. Diana's famous comment, "There were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded," left no doubt in the public's mind about Camilla's involvement. This perception deeply impacted the young princes, who grew up watching their mother's heartbreak unfold before the world. When Charles announced his plan to marry Camilla in 2005, both brothers were reportedly unhappy. Harry later admitted in his memoir, Spare, that he and William had asked their father not to marry her, fearing it would only bring more pain and controversy. However, Charles was determined, and the princes eventually gave their reluctant approval, shaking his hand and wishing him well. Despite this, insiders say the resentment lingered, especially for Harry. Attempts to bridge the gap between Camilla and her stepsons have reportedly been unsuccessful. Interactions between them are described as polite but distant, with no genuine warmth. Royal events often highlight this tension, as Harry and William are said to maintain a careful distance from their stepmother. Camilla, aware of their feelings, has reportedly accepted her position as an outsider in their eyes. Harry has been particularly vocal about his feelings toward Camilla, accusing her of leaking private family details to the press to rehabilitate her public image. In interviews and his memoir, he called her dangerous and claimed she sacrificed others, including him and William, to improve her standing with the media. William, though less outspoken, is believed to share similar sentiments, holding on to loyalty to their late mother, Princess Diana. The strained relationship between Camilla and her stepsons is a painful reminder of the complexities within the royal family. While public smiles and handshakes suggest unity, the emotional scars left by the past seem far from healed, leaving Camilla's bond with William and Harry forever fractured. Camilla's influence on King Charles and royal affairs. Queen Camilla's rise to power within the royal family has been surrounded by controversy, with many insiders claiming her influence over King Charles has grown significantly since their marriage. While Camilla is often portrayed as a supportive partner, critics, including Prince Harry, have accused her of being the real power behind the throne, using her position to shape royal decisions and dynamics in her favor. But how much influence does Camilla truly have, and how has it affected the royal family? Camilla's journey into the royal spotlight was never smooth. After being blamed for the breakdown of King Charles and Princess Diana's marriage, she worked hard to rebuild her public image. Her efforts eventually earned her the title of Queen Consort, but Harry and William reportedly viewed her growing influence with suspicion. Harry, in particular, accused her of sacrificing others on her PR altar, claiming she used the media to strengthen her position, sometimes at the expense of other family members. One of the most contentious points is Camilla's alleged role in shaping how Charles interacts with his children. Insiders suggest that Camilla has played a significant part in discouraging King Charles from reconciling with Harry following his departure from royal duties in 2020. Reports claim she has taken a firm stance against Harry and Meghan's potential return to the royal fold, even going so far as to block Harry from visiting his father without prior notice. This has reportedly caused tension between Camilla and King Charles, who is said to be open to mending his relationship with his sons, but only on his own terms. Camilla's growing influence extends beyond family disputes. She is believed to have a strong hand in Charles's public and private affairs, often guiding his decisions. For example, when Charles publicly revealed his health issues earlier this year, Camilla was reportedly against the announcement, preferring to keep such matters private. However, Charles overruled her, reportedly after being encouraged by William and Harry to set an example for the public. Despite these claims, Camilla has also been credited with bringing stability to Charles's life and supporting his duties as monarch. But her influence remains a divisive topic. Is she a guiding force helping Charles navigate his role, or is she using her position to consolidate power within the palace? The debate continues, with Camilla's role in royal affairs sparking controversy both inside and outside the monarchy. King Charles caught between his wife and sons. King Charles finds himself in an unenviable position, trapped between the growing tension of his wife, Queen Camilla, and his sons, Prince William and Prince Harry. What should have been a time of unity for the royal family has instead become a battlefield, with Charles struggling to maintain peace while navigating one of the most complicated family rifts in modern royal history. The source of the tension largely revolves around Charles's marriage to Camilla. For years, both William and Harry harbored resentment toward their stepmother, whom they saw as the woman who played a key role in the breakdown of their parents' marriage. Diana's infamous 1995 interview, in which she declared, "There were three of us in this marriage," cemented Camilla's image as the other woman. While Charles ultimately married Camilla in 2005, neither William nor Harry ever fully accepted her as part of the family. Behind closed doors, the tension has reportedly only worsened over the years. Harry, in particular, has been vocal about his disdain for Camilla, accusing her of manipulating the media to rehabilitate her image. In his memoir Spare, Harry claimed that Camilla's relationship with the press came at the expense of other family members, including himself and William. He even went so far as to call her dangerous in interviews, citing her alleged willingness to sacrifice others for favorable headlines. As king, Charles is now caught in the middle of this feud. Reports suggest that he has tried to act as a mediator between his sons and his wife, but his efforts have been met with resistance. Camilla has reportedly taken a tough stance against Harry, particularly after his public attacks on her character. Some insiders claim she has even blocked Harry from visiting his father without prior notice, further complicating any efforts at reconciliation. Meanwhile, Charles is said to be open to repairing his relationship with Harry, but only on his own terms. However, this puts him at odds with Camilla, who reportedly believes the king has no reason to feel guilty or reach out to Harry and Meghan. The ongoing feud has left Charles in an impossible position, torn between loyalty to his sons and his devotion to his wife. As the tension continues to escalate, the question remains, can Charles ever bring peace to his fractured family, or will the divide grow even deeper? Harry's memoir, Spare, and additional criticisms of Camilla Prince Harry's memoir, Spare, has taken the world by storm, offering a raw and unfiltered look into his life as a royal and the struggles he faced growing up in the public eye. However, one of the most explosive aspects of the book is Harry's pointed criticisms of Queen Camilla. His revelations have not only shocked royal watchers, but have also reignited the long-standing tension within the royal family. In Spare, Harry holds nothing back when discussing his feelings about Camilla, whom he refers to as dangerous. He accuses her of manipulating the media to shape her public image while sacrificing the reputations of others, particularly his and his brother William's. This characterization paints a picture of a woman willing to go to great lengths to secure her position as queen consort, even at the expense of her stepsons. Harry claims that Camilla's close relationship with the press allowed her to leak damaging stories about him and William, William, using their struggles to distract from her own controversial past. Harry's portrayal of Camilla is particularly striking because it reveals the deep emotional scars left by their mother, Princess Diana's tragic death. He suggests that Camilla represents everything that went wrong in their family, positioning her as a symbol of betrayal and heartbreak. The prince's memories of his mother's suffering at the hands of the royal family only amplify his criticisms of Camilla, making it clear that these feelings run deep. As the public reaction to Spare unfolds, many are left wondering how Camilla will respond to Harry's accusations. While she has remained mostly silent, royal insiders are reportedly braced for potential fallout. The divide between the brothers and their stepmother has only widened, raising questions about the future dynamics within the royal family. Additionally, Harry's criticisms have sparked conversations about the broader implications of Camilla's role in the monarchy. Are her actions as manipulative as Harry suggests, or is she simply a woman trying to navigate the complexities of royal life? As the debate rages on, it's clear that Spare has opened old wounds and reignited a debate that many thought was settled long ago. Harry's desire to reintegrate into the royal family. Prince Harry's journey away from royal life has been filled with drama and heartache, but recent reports suggest he may be yearning to find his way back into the fold. After stepping back from royal duties in 2020 and moving to the United States, Harry's relationship with his family has been strained, particularly with his father, King Charles, and his stepmother, Queen Camilla. However, whispers of Harry's desire to reintegrate into the royal family have sparked hope among royal watchers and fans alike. The turning point for Harry seems to have come after the birth of his two children, Archie and Lilibet. As a father, Harry has expressed a desire for his children to connect with their royal roots. He often reflects on his childhood memories of family gatherings, royal events, and the importance of tradition. In interviews, he has mentioned wanting his children to have a sense of belonging within the royal family, which has made him reconsider his decision to distance himself. Harry's recent public appearances have also hinted at his desire for reconciliation. During a visit to the UK for various events, including the unveiling of a statue of his mother, Princess Diana, Harry appeared more open and willing to engage with his family. Reports suggest he has reached out to old friends and aides, seeking to rebuild bridges that had been burnt over the past few years. His willingness to be back in the UK, despite the media scrutiny, indicates a strong desire to reconnect. However, the path to reintegration is fraught with challenges. The ongoing tensions with Camilla remain a significant hurdle. Harry's criticisms of her in his memoir, Spare, have not gone unnoticed, making it difficult for him to find common ground with her. Additionally, William has also been hesitant, still holding on to the wounds from the past. Family dynamics are complicated, and the brothers' relationship needs healing before any real reconciliation can happen. Despite these challenges, Harry has shown signs of hope. He has expressed a desire for honest conversations with his family, emphasizing the importance of understanding and healing. The royal family, often seen as a fortress of tradition, now faces the challenge of adapting to a new era where communication and openness could bridge the gap. Future tensions, lawsuits, and the paperback release of Spare Prince Harry's memoir, Spare, has already made waves with its explosive revelations, but the upcoming paperback release is set to reignite tensions within the royal family and possibly lead to more legal battles. As the world eagerly anticipates the new edition, which promises additional content and insights, questions loom about how it will impact Harry's already strained relationships with his family, particularly with King Charles and Prince William. The paperback version of Spare is rumored to include new chapters that delve deeper into Harry's experiences and emotions since the original release. This fresh content may shed light on ongoing conflicts, including his complicated relationship with Queen Camilla and the fallout from his decisions to step back from royal duties. With the royal family still reeling from the initial accusations and revelations, the prospect of further details being shared in print is causing anxiety among palace insiders. One of the most pressing concerns is the potential for lawsuits. Following the original release of Spare, there were murmurs that some members of the royal family were considering legal action over the memoir's content. As Harry prepares to unveil more personal stories, the likelihood of legal disputes increases. Royal experts suggest that if Harry continues to make accusations against Camilla or shares sensitive information about family matters, it could push Charles and William to take a stand in court. Moreover, the book's revelations have already strained relationships to the breaking point. The already rocky dynamic between Harry and his family has been exacerbated by his candid critiques of Camilla and his portrayal of his upbringing. The potential for fresh revelations in the paperback adds a layer of uncertainty, as it could lead to more public feuds and further divide the family. As the publication date approaches, the world watches with bated breath. Will Harry's revelations bring about more tension and lawsuits, or could they help pave the way for understanding and healing? The future of the royal family hangs in the balance, and the paperback release of Spare may just be the catalyst that determines their fate. Only time will tell how this chapter of royal history unfolds.
Prince Harry sharing painful and deeply personal details of the family rift that rocked the British royal family and the world.
I don't think that we can ever have peace with my family unless the truth is out there.
The unlikely standoff at Kensington Palace. A seemingly ordinary day at Kensington Palace turned into one of the most unforgettable moments in recent royal history. Prince Harry and Prince William, two of the most talked-about royals, found themselves at the center of an unexpected spectacle, one that was not caused by any royal scandal, but rather by a simple family visit. What started as a casual trip for Queen Camilla's daughter, Laura Parker Bowles, quickly escalated into a full-blown comedy of errors. At the gates of the palace, Laura found herself blocked by an unlikely figure, the royal family's longtime nanny, a woman known for her strict adherence to palace rules. For years, this nanny had been a staple in the royal household, a figure of authority who had kept the palace in check with unshakable resolve. But today, her no-nonsense approach would clash with the royal family's more modern views. As Laura was prevented from entering the palace, the situation quickly spiraled from confusing to hilarious. What could have been a routine family gathering became a battleground for royal protocol, tradition, and, most surprisingly, humor. Would the nanny relent? Would family ties be tested to the breaking point? And why was a seemingly simple visit causing such an uproar? The answers would come in the most unexpected ways, and the royal family would soon learn that even the strictest rules can be bent, sometimes for the sake of a good laugh. As the story unfolded, everyone began to realize that the nanny wasn't just protecting the palace, she was guarding an old and cherished tradition. But was it worth the chaos that followed? Little did anyone know, this moment at the gates would go down as one of the most absurd and hilarious royal dramas ever. What happens next is something even the royal family couldn't have predicted. The unexpected visitor Kensington Palace, an iconic symbol of British royalty, had seen countless royal visits over the years, but nothing quite like this. Laura Parker Bowles, daughter of Queen Camilla, had been invited by her stepbrother Prince William for a casual family visit. As she approached the gates, there was nothing unusual about the scene. The palace was as majestic as always, and Laura had visited many times before. But today, something was different. Today, she would meet a formidable force at the entrance. The royal nanny, a woman who had served the family for decades, stood at her usual post. She had always been an integral part of the palace's inner workings, managing everything from the royal children's schedules to overseeing the everyday operations of the household. Her reputation for strict adherence to the rules was well known, and she didn't hesitate for a second when Laura arrived. The gates were closed, and despite Laura's claim of being family, the nanny stood her ground. No entry without proper clearance, she declared. Laura was taken aback. She had never been stopped before, and yet today, she found herself in a confrontation she never expected. The nanny's behavior was puzzling. Why was she being so strict? Was there some deeper issue at play? And why now, of all times, was the nanny so adamant about following protocol to the letter? It seemed like a small misunderstanding, yet it quickly escalated into something much larger. Laura began to question whether her connection to the royal family, something she had always taken for granted, was truly as secure as she thought. As the standoff continued, tensions mounted, and a shocking revelation about the nanny's mysterious behavior started to emerge. Was this just a simple misunderstanding, or was there more to the story? Media frenzy begins. As the situation at the gates grew more absurd, word quickly spread throughout the palace, and within moments, the entire staff was buzzing with excitement and confusion. The news that Laura was being blocked by the nanny reached Prince William and Prince Harry, who, at first, thought it was a joke. But the more they heard about the situation, the more they realized it was real. The nanny, known for her unwavering loyalty and strict rule-following, was not about to let anyone through without the proper clearance. Not even Laura. The brothers, both well accustomed to dealing with the media and the scrutiny that came with being members of the royal family, found themselves in the middle of a spectacle that no one could have predicted. As the news began to spread, the palace gates turned into the epicenter of a media frenzy. Journalists and photographers, always eager to capture the smallest bit of royal drama, quickly gathered outside, hoping to get a glimpse of the unfolding standoff. The tabloids had already latched onto the story, spinning headlines about the royal gatekeeper and the palace blockade. What started as a family visit quickly became the talk of the town, with royal watchers and media outlets eager to analyze every move. Prince Harry, ever the jokester, found the whole thing rather amusing, but even he could see that the situation was getting out of hand. The media, as always, would turn any story into a circus, and this was no exception. But behind the comedy was a serious question. Why had the nanny gone to such lengths to stop Laura from entering the gates? With the media now involved, the situation was about to escalate beyond anyone's control. But the truth behind the nanny's actions was still hidden. What was her real motive? The hidden power of the nanny. The more the brothers delved into the situation, the more they realized that the nanny was no ordinary staff member. She wasn't just a caretaker or a supervisor. She was a guardian of royal tradition. Her role in the palace had grown over the years, and she had become as much a fixture of royal life as the crown itself. Known for her loyalty and commitment to maintaining order, she had earned the trust and respect of every member of the royal family. But there was something more, something deeper, that motivated her to act with such authority. As the standoff continued, Prince William began to investigate the situation more thoroughly. What he discovered was both fascinating and unsettling. The nanny's strict adherence to the rules was not just about protecting the family's privacy. It was about preserving a sense of order that she felt was slipping away. For years, the royal family had faced increasing scrutiny, and the nanny's role had evolved into one of safeguarding their legacy. But was this constant vigilance leading her to make decisions that went beyond her remit? Prince Harry, meanwhile, took a more light-hearted approach to the drama. While William was deeply entrenched in figuring out the motivations behind the nanny's actions, Harry couldn't help but joke about the situation. He commented that the nanny's gatekeeping skills were unmatched, likening her to a secret agent tasked with protecting the royal family from all threats, real or imagined. But as the hours wore on, even Harry had to acknowledge that something wasn't quite right. The nanny's behavior seemed more like a test of loyalty than a simple enforcement of rules. The deeper Prince William dug, the more he uncovered about the nanny's mysterious role in the palace. But was her dedication to tradition helping or hindering the royal family? The family confrontation. As the day continued and the standoff persisted, the royal family was left to grapple with the situation at hand. Queen Camilla, who had sent Laura to visit, was both perplexed and somewhat embarrassed. Her daughter was being blocked from entering her own family's palace, and for what? A failure to follow some obscure protocol? Camilla, though used to royal rules, found herself questioning the nanny's judgment. The situation soon reached a boiling point. After hours of negotiation, Prince William decided to intervene directly, and the palace doors were finally opened. But what happened next was truly unexpected. The nanny, who had steadfastly refused to allow Laura entry, finally relented, but only after a private conversation with William. No one knew what was said behind those closed doors, but when the gates were finally opened, there was an air of resolution. The family gathered inside the palace, the mood a mix of relief and tension. What had started as a simple visit had now become a defining moment for the royal family. Was the nanny's unyielding stance a sign of her deep loyalty to the monarchy, or had she overstepped her bounds? Prince Harry, who had spent most of the day joking about the situation, now saw the deeper implications. What happened behind the scenes between William and the nanny? And was the family truly united, or were cracks starting to show in their carefully constructed facade? The media spin. As the royal family's internal drama unfolded, the media was quick to seize on the story. The headlines were everywhere, each one more sensational than the last. Royal nanny blocks Camilla's daughter from entering palace, read one headline, while another claimed, family tensions at Kensington Palace as nanny refuses to let in royal member. The press, always eager to turn any royal incident into a spectacle, had turned what could have been a small misunderstanding into the latest royal scandal. But as the days passed, the story took on a life of its own. The press speculated endlessly about the motivations behind the nanny's actions. Was she simply following protocol, Or was there something more personal at play? The tabloids, ever hungry for a juicy story, turned every possible detail into a headline, with little regard for the truth. The royal family was no longer in control of the narrative. The media had taken over, twisting the story into whatever served their agenda. The royal family, used to the media's attention, couldn't ignore the impact this story was having. The nanny, once a trusted and respected figure, was now being portrayed as a villain in the eyes of the public. And yet, behind the headlines, the family remained united, trying to protect their own from the relentless media machine. As the media circus continued, the royal family's reputation hung in the balance. What would happen next? Would the family survive this latest scandal, or would it tear them apart? The strain on family ties. Behind the closed doors of the palace, the royal family was left to reflect on the day's events. The standoff at the gates had been embarrassing for everyone involved, but it also exposed underlying tensions that had been simmering beneath the surface for years. For Queen Camilla, the incident was a reminder of the delicate balance she had to maintain between her new role within the royal family and her relationship with her children from her previous marriage. Her daughter, Laura, had always felt like an outsider in the royal fold, though she had been included in many family gatherings. This incident, however, brought her feelings of alienation to the forefront. Despite being the daughter of Queen Camilla, Laura had often been overshadowed by the more prominent figures in the family, especially her royal stepbrothers, Prince William and Prince Harry. The fact that she was blocked from entering the palace by a figure who had been a part of their lives for so long only emphasized her position as an outsider. For Prince William, this incident had forced him to confront the complexities of royal life and the pressures of tradition. He had always been a proponent of maintaining the royal family's legacy and order, but the nanny's rigid adherence to protocol had caused more harm than good. He found himself questioning whether tradition was worth the damage it had done to his family's relationships. How could he reconcile his duties to the monarchy with his personal feelings for his family? And more importantly, how could he manage to keep things from spiraling further out of control? Prince Harry, on the other hand, found himself caught between his brother's serious nature and his own irreverence. He understood that something deeper was going on, but he also knew that humor was his way of coping with the absurdity of the situation. Still, even he couldn't ignore the emotional toll it had taken on everyone. As much as he wanted to deflect and make jokes, he knew that his family's public image had been damaged, and it was unclear if they could ever fully recover from the fallout. The tension inside the palace was palpable, and the fallout from the standoff at the gates would linger far longer than anyone expected. Was this just the beginning of an unraveling of royal unity? Or would they find a way to put their differences aside? The nanny's secret. As the royal family dealt with the aftermath of the palace gate incident, a startling revelation came to light. It wasn't just a matter of rules being enforced. The nanny, it seemed, had been operating under a sense of duty far more personal than anyone had realized. For years, the nanny had been the family's most trusted member, one who not only cared for the royal children, but also served as a quiet protector of their image. Her strict nature and loyalty had earned her the respect of the family, but there was more to her than met the eye. She had become not just an enforcer of palace protocol, but a silent guardian of royal tradition. A tradition she believed was slipping through the cracks of modernity. The monarchy, as it had been traditionally known, was under increasing scrutiny, and the nanny had come to see herself as the last line of defense. She had taken it upon herself to uphold the legacy of the royal family, believing that the family's image must be preserved at all costs. Her actions at the gates of Kensington Palace, though seemingly harsh, were a reflection of her deep, perhaps misguided sense of loyalty to the crown. What she had failed to see was the emotional cost of her actions. Her duty to protect the royal family's image had blinded her to the needs of the very people she sought to protect. Prince William, for one, had seen the damage her actions had caused and felt torn between his loyalty to the family and his desire to protect his own family's well-being. The revelation about the nanny's motivations gave the family a new perspective on her role within the palace. She wasn't just a figure who followed orders. She was a person with her own complex emotions and an unwavering sense of duty. But the real question was, had her actions caused irreparable harm to the royal family's unity? As the truth about the nanny's motivations came to light, the royal family was faced with a difficult question. Could the damage caused by her strict adherence to tradition ever be undone? Or was the legacy of royal protocol too deep to be shaken? A family divided. The aftermath of the Palace Gate incident revealed fractures within the royal family that had long been ignored. Despite their public appearances of unity, the members of the royal family were often divided by hidden tensions. This event, though seemingly trivial, brought those tensions to the surface, forcing each family member to confront their own relationships with tradition, loyalty, and each other. Prince William, caught between his role as a future monarch and his desire to protect his family, found himself at a crossroads. He could no longer ignore the complexities of royal life. As much as he had dedicated himself to the monarchy, he began to question whether he had been sacrificing his personal happiness for the sake of duty. His relationship with his brother, Harry, had always been complicated, but now, even that bond was being tested. Harry's irreverence and humor, while often a source of light in difficult times, had become a point of contention. William was increasingly frustrated with Harry's reluctance to take things seriously. Yet, despite their differences, both brothers shared a common understanding. The royal family as it stood was fragile, and every action they took had the potential to alter its future. Queen Camilla, watching the drama unfold, found herself caught between her loyalty to her husband, King Charles, and her desire to protect her children. Laura, her daughter from her previous marriage, had always felt like an outsider in the royal fold. Camilla had done her best to make Laura feel included, but the tension that had existed between them for years was now more palpable than ever. The nanny's actions had made Laura's position in the family even more tenuous, and it seemed as though she would always be seen as an outsider, no matter how much she tried to fit in. In the end, it was clear that the royal family had been tested in ways they had never anticipated. The public spectacle, fueled by the media frenzy, had laid bare the fragile nature of their unity. Each family member had their own take on the situation, and while some were eager to move on, others couldn't forget the deep rift that had formed in the wake of the events. As the royal family continued to grapple with their differences, one question lingered. Could they ever truly heal the divisions that had been exposed? Or was the royal family destined to remain fractured forever? The royal media circus. The royal family's image, once carefully curated and protected, had now become a subject of relentless scrutiny. The media, always hungry for a story, had turned the gates of Kensington Palace into the epicenter of royal drama. As the situation unfolded, the press painted the nanny's actions as part of a larger narrative of royal dysfunction. Headlines blared about family infighting and royal dysfunction, with each report more sensational than the last. The nanny, once a beloved figure behind palace walls, was now being vilified in the public eye. The media, as always, had a unique ability to turn even the smallest incident into a full-blown scandal. This time, however, the royals were caught in a whirlwind of their own making. While the family had hoped to keep the situation private, the media's reach was too powerful. Photos of Laura standing at the gates with the nanny blocking her entry quickly went viral. The tabloids had a field day, offering wild speculation about the family's inner turmoil. As the press frenzy continued, the royal family was forced to navigate the increasingly difficult situation. Each statement, each public appearance, was carefully choreographed to try to minimize the damage. But no matter what they did, the media seemed to have the upper hand. The family's every move was scrutinized, and even their attempts to move past the incident only seemed to fuel the fire. The public perception of the royal family had been altered irrevocably. Once a symbol of stability and tradition, they were now seen as just another celebrity family caught in a scandal. And for the first time in years, the monarchy's future seemed uncertain. With the media spinning the situation out of control, the royal family was left to pick up the pieces. Would they be able to reclaim their image, or was this incident the beginning of a new chapter in their history? The resolution. In the end, the palace's internal drama had reached a breaking point. The nanny, who had once been a symbol of unwavering loyalty to the royal family, finally acknowledged the consequences of her actions. She realized that her strict adherence to tradition had caused unnecessary turmoil within the family, and the damage could not be undone by simply reopening the gates. For Prince William and Prince Harry, the incident had been a wake-up call. They had always known that being part of the royal family came with immense responsibility, but the events at the gates made them realize just how fragile that responsibility truly was. The monarchy's future, as they both knew, was built on public perception and unity. If the royal family couldn't navigate their personal differences and protect each other from the media's prying eyes, their legacy would be at risk. As the royal family gathered to discuss the events that had transpired, it was clear that they had to come together, not just for the sake of the monarchy, but for the sake of each other. Despite the chaos that had unfolded, they found a way to heal the rifts and rebuild their bond. The nanny, having seen the damage she had caused, apologized for her actions, and the family agreed to move forward, learning from the experience. The incident at Kensington Palace, though hilarious and chaotic, had brought the royal family closer together. It had exposed the cracks in their carefully constructed image, but it also allowed them to rebuild it stronger than before. The monarchy, like any family, was imperfect, but it was also resilient, and it was clear that they would continue to endure. After the storm had passed, the royal family found strength in their unity. But would the public ever forget the day the gates of Kensington Palace became the scene of a royal standoff? Only time would tell. The aftermath: a family reconciled? The gates of Kensington Palace, once a symbol of security and grandeur, had now become a symbol of dysfunction. The royal family's public image had taken a hit, and the press continued to run wild with speculation. But behind the closed doors of the palace, the family was beginning to pick up the pieces. The media's attention had only intensified the pressure, and with each new headline, the royal family was forced to confront the reality of what had happened. Queen Camilla, who had initially been embarrassed by the media frenzy, took it upon herself to bring her family back together. She knew that the royal family's unity was the key to maintaining their standing in the eyes of the public. The nanny, once a figure of unquestioned authority, was now the subject of widespread scrutiny. But she wasn't the only one to blame. Camilla herself had been forced to reckon with her own role in the drama. The incident had exposed the deep-rooted tensions within the family, tensions that had long been hidden beneath the polished surface of their public appearances. For Laura, the visit had become more than just a family gathering. It had become a reflection of the complicated nature of her relationship with her step-family. Though she had always been accepted as family, this incident made her feel more like an outsider than ever before. She had always struggled with her position in the royal family, and the events at the gates only highlighted her insecurities. For Prince William, the entire situation had been a wake-up call. He had always prided himself on his ability to maintain the royal family's reputation, but he was beginning to realize that the weight of that responsibility might be more than he could bear. The nanny's actions, though driven by her loyalty to the monarchy, had exposed a gap between what the royal family needed and what the public expected. William, who had always followed tradition, found himself questioning whether those traditions were truly serving his family, or if they were holding them back from evolving. Prince Harry, as always, had found humor in the chaos. But even he couldn't ignore the emotional toll the situation had taken on everyone. The brothers, though vastly different in their approach to life, had been forced to confront the fact that their family wasn't as invulnerable as they had once thought. The gates of Kensington Palace, once a symbol of royal strength, had now become a battleground for competing values. With the media breathing down their necks and tensions running high within the palace, the royal family had to decide whether to embrace the future or hold on to the past. Would they ever be able to reconcile their differences, or had the damage been done? The royal rebuilding. The royal family, now fully aware of the damage done by the gate incident, began the painstaking process of rebuilding their image and their relationships. Prince William, determined to regain control of the situation, called a family meeting. The purpose was clear: to resolve the lingering tension and to ensure that their future as a family, both in public and private, was secure. Prince Harry, ever the optimist, offered a lighter perspective. While William focused on the logistics of repairing their public image, Harry insisted that they needed to find a way to laugh at the situation. The absurdity of a nanny blocking Laura at the gates had, in Harry's mind, become something of a legend. a story they would all tell with laughter in the years to come. But despite the humor, it was clear that the wounds from the incident ran deep. The family knew they couldn't simply laugh it off. They had to address the emotional toll it had taken on them individually and as a unit. Laura, who had spent so many years feeling like an outsider, was particularly affected by the standoff. The nanny's actions had reinforced her position as someone who wasn't fully embraced by the royal fold. Despite the family's efforts to make her feel included, she had always struggled to truly find her place. The events at the gates only made that feeling more pronounced. Queen Camilla, who had been dealing with her own feelings of guilt and frustration, was determined to make things right. She reached out to Laura, speaking to her openly about the complexities of their relationship and the misunderstandings that had been a part of their dynamic for years. Camilla acknowledged that her daughter's feelings of isolation were valid, and she promised to do more to make her feel like an integral part of the royal family. At the same time, the royal family knew that they had to regain the public's trust. The media had torn into them from every angle, and it was clear that their carefully constructed image of perfection was no longer viable. In the age of social media, where every misstep was scrutinized, the royal family's every move would be under constant observation. It was no longer enough to rely on tradition alone. They needed to adapt to the changing times and rebuild their reputation from the ground up. As the royal family worked through their emotional baggage and began the process of rebuilding their public image, a new challenge arose. How could they navigate a world that no longer believed in royal infallibility? Well, that was a royal mess, wasn't it? From a strict nanny to a media frenzy, this bizarre moment at Kensington Palace has shaken things up in ways no one saw coming. What's next for the royal family? Will they learn from their mistakes or continue to clash with tradition? Drop your thoughts in the comments and make sure to hit like and subscribe for more shocking royal moments. You won't want to miss what happens next.
The FBI did the unthinkable. They raided royal property. What they found could shake the British monarchy to its core.
A quiet breeze brushed the trees of a private island, an island owned by none other than Queen Camilla. Hidden away from the world, far from cameras and crowds, it was meant to be a peaceful escape. But that calm shattered when FBI agents stepped onto the shore. What they uncovered behind locked doors, beneath stone floors, and deep within the island's secrets has sent shockwaves across the globe. Not just whispers, but headlines. The kind of truth too loud to stay buried. And now, the entire nation is left speechless. The FBI involvement, why were they even there? This is where the story starts to turn heads. Many people have been asking the same question. Why would the FBI be looking into anything related to Queen Camilla? She's a royal, not someone we'd normally connect to investigations, especially from American authorities. But what we're learning suggests something far more unusual is happening. According to reports that began circulating online, the FBI wasn't actually looking into Queen Camilla at first. Their original focus was part of a much broader investigation. They were tracing suspicious offshore money, secret accounts, hidden properties, and massive sums of cash being moved across borders without much transparency. It's the kind of investigation that's usually connected to billionaires, corporate fraud, or sometimes political corruption. At some point during that investigation, a few documents reportedly surfaced. These documents linked a series of property holdings to a mysterious private island. And somewhere buried in that paper trail, a British title appeared, one that caught attention. That title, it's rumored, is connected to Queen Camilla. Not directly, but through trusts, silent partnerships, or family connections. And just to be clear, there is no proof that Camilla herself did anything illegal. No one's saying that. But the island in question was enough of a curiosity that the FBI decided to take a closer look. They didn't raid the island. They didn't arrest anyone. But they started asking questions. What raised even more eyebrows was how this information leaked. A few whistleblowers came forward. Some claimed to be working with offshore banks. Others were said to be involved in legal firms that helped create shell companies. They reached out to journalists, offering pieces of the puzzle. These people said the island had a very unique ownership structure. one that was so complicated, it seemed designed to hide who really owned it. At this point, journalists from multiple countries began digging. Some say they found clues tying the island to a royal-affiliated fund. Others mention connections to trusts located in Guernsey or the Cayman Islands, known for secrecy. Nothing in these leaks was conclusive, but it was enough for the FBI to add the island to its radar. The mysterious island. What do we know? Let's talk about this island, because this is not just any island. It's not public, and it's not a place most people have heard of. In fact, it's so private that it doesn't even appear by name in most travel maps. That alone makes things feel a little off. Sources say the island is located somewhere in the Caribbean, though others argue it might be near the coast of Italy or Greece. Whatever the case, it's small, isolated, and heavily protected. Aerial views, likely from private drone footage, show a stunning piece of land surrounded by crystal blue water. There's a mansion built right near the beach, along with what looks like a private dock, possibly for receiving yachts or supply boats. Everything about the property screams exclusivity and privacy. From the air, you can see high walls, thick tree cover, and only one visible road leading through the property. No tourists, no signs of local businesses, no infrastructure except what appears to be custom-built housing and solar panels. So, has this island ever come up before in royal conversations or media? Not really. It's not listed among known royal properties. It hasn't been shown in interviews or documentaries. But there is one old photo, blurry and distant, that allegedly shows Queen Camilla boarding a yacht that was headed toward a private island near the British Virgin Islands. The timing and location match, but her team never confirmed where she was going. Those who've worked near the island in the past, former workers, boat crew members, even a gardener, say the place is incredibly secretive. Some said they had to sign non-disclosure agreements before being allowed to even step foot near the property. One man said, "You're told two things when you get there. Keep your mouth shut and don't look around." That alone raises red flags. But when you hear about what the island might be hiding, that's where the mystery deepens. What was allegedly found? Now, let's get into what the FBI allegedly found, or at least what whistleblowers claim was discovered or hidden on the island. These claims have not been verified, but they've been circulating in investigative circles and online forums. One of the biggest claims is that ancient artifacts were found in a hidden part of the mansion. We're talking about historical items that may have been missing from museums or acquired through private collectors. These could include old coins, maps, or even paintings from European history. Next, some reports mention unregistered jewelry and priceless art. These items are said to have no known paperwork or public records. That's not illegal by itself, but when expensive assets have no trace, it opens the door to all kinds of questions, especially about taxes or where they came from. Then there are stories about secret vaults. Multiple people have said the property contains underground rooms, accessible only through hidden doors or staircases. One claimed there's a tunnel beneath the main house that leads to a chamber filled with antique items and possibly sensitive documents. This is where things really take a turn. Some insiders believe that private royal letters, family correspondence, and documents tied to past royal controversies might be stored on the island. Again, no hard proof, just whispers. But if any of that's true, it could explain why this island is so heavily guarded. Then there's the money side. A few journalists claim to have seen files pointing to offshore financial activity, involving accounts from multiple countries. Some reports suggest large sums of money were moved using silent partnerships, and shell companies registered under initials or code names. And lastly, some say the files hint at old royal scandals, topics that have been brushed under the rug for decades. These might involve names we've all heard before, and events that the palace would rather forget. All of these findings, real or imagined, have set off a wave of curiosity and concern. And even though nothing has been officially confirmed, the story is spreading like wildfire. Historical context, royals, and hidden assets. Now, before jumping to conclusions, let's take a look at history. This wouldn't be the first time a royal figure was connected to private assets or offshore holdings. The British royal family already owns personal properties like Balmoral Castle and Sandringham Estate, which are not part of the official Crown estate, and are instead privately owned. Across the world, other royal families have long used trusts, shell companies, and offshore accounts to protect their privacy and manage wealth. It's not always illegal. In many cases, it's about discretion, keeping their private lives separate from their public roles. But in recent years, that privacy has come under fire. The Paradise Papers and Panama Papers exposed how the rich and powerful, including royals, use tax havens and secret investments. Queen Elizabeth herself was quietly tied to offshore investments through the Duchy of Lancaster, which sparked controversy even though the investments were legal. So if Queen Camilla, or someone in her circle, did have a hand in a private island through hidden channels, it wouldn't be unheard of. But in today's world, transparency matters, especially when it involves public figures. What could this mean for Queen Camilla and the royals? This story, true or not, could have real consequences. First, there's the matter of public trust. Since Queen Elizabeth's passing, the royal family has faced increased scrutiny. Every decision is watched, every expense is questioned, and King Charles has made it clear he wants a slimmed-down monarchy, one that feels modern, modest, and in touch with everyday people. A story about a secret island, expensive treasures, and FBI interest? That goes against everything they're trying to present. Even if Queen Camilla had nothing to do with anything shady, just the headlines alone are enough to cause damage. People will ask, why the secrecy? Why the island? What are they hiding? And perhaps most importantly, what else might be out there? Could this be the start of a wider investigation into royal finances and private holdings? Could it trigger more leaks, more whistleblowers, and more questions that the palace isn't ready to answer? Only time will tell. But one thing is clear. The mystery of the island has opened a door that may never fully close. The silence of that island is gone now, replaced by questions, headlines, and a truth too loud to ignore. What was once hidden is now out in the open, and the world is watching closely. This story isn't over. Not even close. If this left you thinking, there's more to uncover. Tap the like button. And if you want to follow every twist as it happens, make sure to subscribe. The next chapter could change everything. Again,